Hello, welcome to the Performance Physique channel. My name is Arj and I am a performance coach, and I'm going to be talking to you today all about injuries and how I'm going to overcome my latest injury. Let's go. We've all been here before. If we're a runner particularly, or if we're in a contact sport, it happens all the time. We pick up an injury. And I used to pride myself on having athletes and clients who used to avoid injury for season after season after season. Now, I'm not saying it's good to have an injury. However, one day I was speaking with perhaps one of the best coaches in the world for sprints and explosive sports. And he turned around to me and said, Arj, if you're managing to keep your athletes injury-free for season after season, and you're possibly not pushing that athlete hard enough in order to achieve their overload. So from that point onwards, I was like, right, let's go for it. We all come across injuries at some point in our training journey. Some of us more often than we would like, and others pretty infrequently. For me, I spent most of my time being injury-free. However, I did have an Achilles rupture of my left Achilles when I was trying to be a decathlete back in 2013. Since then, that Achilles has never been quite right, but I learned one amazing thing, and that was how to do Achilles rehab. Since I sustained my own Achilles injury, the research, the protocols have gone full pelt, and nowadays I've been able to support loads of athletes with their Achilles rehabilitation. Some methods that I just wish were around and available to me back when I did mine. However, this has become a bit of a weakness in my chain. Most recently, I actually returned to the basketball court. So yes, an explosive sport. It involves sprinting, it involves jumping, everything that an overweight, sedentary individual like myself who spent the last few years coaching and having a family rather than training himself probably should be avoiding at this point in time. But obviously, when it comes down to myself, I have an ego and I just want to get involved straight away and prove the youngsters just how capable I am. It was only my second session back and I noticed a very sharp, sudden pain in my foot. A burning sensation immediately appeared. And like any good coach, I ensured I carried on playing for the remaining 15 minutes until the end of the match. What I identified immediately was some bleeding on my foot. It's the same foot, the same side where I sustained an Achilles rupture, and immediately I knew there was some sort of a tear if I've got some bleeding, if I've got some bruising appearing. Fast forward 24 hours, I'm with my physio friend, Phil Evans from Urban Body, and we're using my injury as a case study. What we've identified, it's basically along your plantar sole, your plantar plate, I've torn something. It looks like the Flexor, Hallucis, Brevis, maybe Longus. Lots of swelling appeared after 24 hours, and that went pretty much within about 3 days. Bleeding took about a week, 2 weeks to go, and my ability to move my big toe went immediately. I couldn't flex it, couldn't extend it. But that actually started to come back after about 7 to 10 days. So we're now at 3 weeks post-injury. I have introduced some rehabilitation. But it's at this point in my journey where, to be honest, things are a little bit miserable. I know what it's like to be injured. I'm training everything else. I'm looking at the silver linings. I'm understanding how I can maximize my potential everywhere else. But I'm not running. And you know what it's like to be an athlete, to be a runner, and want to do the main thing that you enjoy, and you just can't, particularly with this glorious weather that has just sprung upon us in the UK. So what am I doing? Basically, I'm focusing on how am I approaching this? Well, there's going to be a few different factors. Nutritionally, I'm ensuring adequate protein intake. There was thoughts about whether I should go and supplement with some collagen, but the research really isn't in the favor of collagen, to be honest. So I'm staying away from that and just looking at my protein intake, ensuring a daily protein shake as well to meet a deficient amount of protein, because I can be really careless with my protein intake. We all know about these grams per kilograms, but what's actually manageable? If I can hit 1.6 grams per kilo, that's amazing. If I hit 2.5 grams, then I'm on the right track, but I'm not doing that right now. I'll be honest with you. I'm making sure I have loads of vegetables. I'm ensuring that I have a multivitamin just in case I'm not perhaps consuming enough. Is this camera? The camera is going down and down and down. There we go. But I'm ensuring that I'm meeting my minimum micronutrients by using those vitamins. The second aspect is my training generally. I'm hitting 2 to 4 times per week in the gym. I haven't done any cardiovascular work lately, but my gym work has been all strength orientated, and I'm trying to do upper splits realistically, but sometimes that does kind of go down depending on how, there it is. And I've now just begun some of the rehabilitation work, and this pretty much all involves taping around the plantar sole, around the foot, making sure I'm doing some inversion, eversion, plantar flexing and dorsiflexing, all with a resistance band, as well as some big toe work. And that big toe work is isometric holds at the moment. I haven't been brave enough to do any of the deep flexing and extension, but I should be. What I have noticed is that the pain drops quite a lot. Suddenly, as a coach though, I did a lot of demonstrations. I did one demonstration and immediately all of that pain flared back, and I feel the inflammation, the lump that appeared just where the utensil is, the flexor, Hallucis brevis. So I had to back off for the last few days, to be quite honest, allow that to settle down. What I have noticed is that my calf and my foot have become incredibly tight. It's the fear factor. I know what I need to do, but there is a fear still for me that by stretching the plantar sole and stretching the calf, I'm going to feel that pain, and therefore I'm just a little bit hesitant. But I shouldn't be. I need to be stretching that area, and I'll pull myself together. I'm conscious. On top of that, there is the psychological aspect. It's lovely, like I said. I want to get out there and run. It's not possible. It just isn't possible. I am, however, thinking about possible running events that I'm going to book in for. It's looking like end of this year, probably next year. Maybe we do Barcelona. Do we do the Barcelona half? That would be exciting. My rehab until I get to running stage is probably going to be about 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer if it's just not playing ball. Because what we've learned, what we've identified is that this injury has basically occurred as a result of my Achilles. My Achilles tendon, when it actually went really, really strong, the insertion into the heel was the weakness, and it sort of ripped off the heel. In exactly the same situation, the tendon was very strong, and it seems to have just traveled underneath the foot, looked for the weakness, and ripped off there. And that is what I believe, and what Phil believes has probably happened. I identified the weakest area on my foot, and that's what's torn when I've been trying to play basketball like I was still 18. Have I learnt my lesson? No, I will still try and play basketball like I'm 18 in a few months' time when I go back. But for now, we're going to focus on that rehab. Psychology element is picking a race, picking an event that I'm going to work towards. And on course, I'm going to make sure that I make a strong return. I'm going to follow a training program when it comes back to running. I'm going to start with some smaller duration runs, but I'm not going to be scared about applying force, because if there's one thing I know, is that our tendons in particular love that load. They don't like duration perhaps, but they love load. So I need to be brave, go out and do some plyometric activities, some bunnies, some skips when the time is right to do those there. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be documenting this journey. I'm going to be back training. You will see me running, and maybe I'll run my first half marathon, because everyone says, how come they say, how great are you at coaching guys when you can't run? Well, I'll tell you how. It's because it's all about science. Anyway, tune in, make sure you hit subscribe. I look forward to filling you in on my next video, my next update about my rehab from a plantar tear.